You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper than again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the fourth part of What If Naruto Enters Archer. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of pyrohelixdrago on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Few weeks later. Happy birthday boys, Mallory said as she and the entire office were in front of the building. Why the F are we celebrating both their birthdays? Ray asked Lana curiously. "'Cause Mallory is cheap and lazy," Lana said as since their birthdays were relatively close Mallory chose a day in between to celebrate both of them. She found out when she was first dating Sterling and to this day still found it odd. Holy SHT, Naruto and Sterling said as they saw a pair of cars approach. One was a black Dodge Challenger while the other was a black and orange Chevrolet Camaro 2016 model Bumblebee from last night. "Oh my god Krieger, you retrofitted these things with spy tech?" Naruto asked in surprise seeing the inside of his car. "Yep, check it out," Krieger said pressing a button as everyone watched the car change from black and orange to orange and black. "I call it chameleon mode. You can change your car's outer appearance and even turn invisible," he said in excitement. Naruto said in excitement as he and Sterling took off to race each other. Few hours later. "I swear Moto, how the F do you keep doing this kinda SHT?" Naruto said as Moto invited him to watch a race. "Also sorry about your nephew," he said hearing Pam killed him during a race. "He knew the risks," Moto said sternly not holding or showing any sign of a grudge. Naruto smiled seeing Pam, Miko, Keiko, and Mercedes working with Pam making sure her car was in order. "So have you thought of our offer?" he said to Moto. Working with the Mexican and Colombian cartels is very tempting, much more quality in my supplies than," Moto said as the Yakuza had their hands in many illegal activities including DRGS. "Maria Moreno already has her operation set up here. I made sure it won't interfere with the Yakuza in any way, and Maria Delgado will sell you top quality. She has it by the ton, so you have nothing to lose and all to gain," he said to him simply. "And your small feet?" Moto asked, always wondering what Naruto got out of certain deals as Naruto exploited numerous opportunities for many things that were valuable and usable to others, a skill that impressed him and one he greatly admired. "Simple trade of goods, having use of a few of your contacts from time to time," Naruto said as having assistance or even the use of smuggling could help him as Maria Moreno and her daughter as well as Moto had many connections in a few countries and a lot in certain places in the US. "Tell them I accept their terms," Moto said as he would increase his reputation and it would save him many problems. Naruto quickly called Maria Sr. and her daughter and informed them things had gone smoothly and passed the phone to Moto so they could conference and set up properly. Few weeks later. "Where are we going?" Yuta asked Naruto curiously as they geared up for a mission. "Secret mission, we're going to Switzerland," Naruto said simply. "For what?" Yuta asked curiously as Naruto informed her on only a few things. "You'll see when we get there," Naruto said simply. Next day. "A school?" Yuta asked him curiously as they approached a boarding schools. "Yeah, trust me and play along," Naruto said as he and her as they entered. "Ah, Mr. Magnum, a pleasure to meet you and your daughter," a man with an accent said as he greeted him. "Daughter?" Yuta thought, sending him a smirk with a questioning look thinking this would be fun. "Yes, pleasure," Naruto said to him with a smile. "Let me show you around," the man said as they walked Naruto and Yuta a few feet behind him. "Okay, so why are we here, Daddy?" Yuta said to him teasingly. "Got a phone call from someone we know," Naruto said simply making Yuta wonder who it was they knew that'd be here. "Sir, may we please discuss more of this in your office?" Naruto said with a grin. Few minutes later. Gotta love Krieger, Yuta said as Naruto shot a dart into the man and moved him to the side as he hacked into the man's computer, finding a file of a certain student labeled Schlotz, A. Few minutes later. Freedom, Anka Schultz said as she screamed in pleasure and bliss. Here, pulled some strings, you are now a US citizen, Naruto said, throwing her some IDs and a green card, and don't worry about your father, you have total emancipation, he said to her as he had Slater pull some strings for him. How can I ever thank you, Anka said as she got into a CC pose and winked at him. Oh, you'll definitely pay him back, Anka, with interest, I guarantee, Yuta thought to herself. Few days later. So what movie are we watching? Anka asked as she was living with Yuta in her apartment. She was currently wearing white sweatpants and a small tank top. A movie by Rona Thorne, Yuta said with a smirk as she asked Rona for one of the many SEC tapes she had made with Naruto. I love Rona Thorne. Which movie? Anka asked curiously. Never made it to theaters, Yuta said with a grin as she sat down and pressed play, and soon they saw Rona in very top quality in very revealing underwear. Anka blushed seeing her favorite movie star in her underwear. Yuta wasn't even watching the TV as she just stared at Anka, smiling at her. Anka watched as she saw Rona soon become manhandled. Is that Naruto? She thought in surprise, seeing Naruto, the man that had given her many sleepless nights, haunted her dreams, and been the center of her thoughts and fantasies, feel up her favorite movie star. How are you enjoying the movie? Yuta said behind her as she began massaging her shoulders. Anka was tongue-tied as she didn't know how to answer, her eyes glued to screen as she felt her pee-pee moisten seeing Naruto's member. It's bigger in person, Yuta said, whispering in her ear. Now do you want to see it? She asked teasingly. Anka could only nod as she was breathing hotly. Yuta smiled as she went around the couch and kneeled before Anka, spread her legs apart and smiled, seeing a large wet stain in her sweatpants. Anka in excitement as Yuta ripped her pants and began liking her pee-pee. You'll need to be trained, Anka, if you want Naruto's monster, Yuta said with a grin, looking at her as she said that. Yes, train me, make me ready, Anka said as she wanted to be prepared to take on Naruto's monster. Next day. Anka was very nervous as she was naked, tied to her bed by her arms and legs, each tied to the corners, and had a BLLGG in her mouth. Yuta walked in naked as her, but she had brought a paddle and a riding CRP. Now Anka, before we start you need to be punished, she said with a grin, taking the riding CRP and struck the blonde girl's PP. You lie and act like a SLT, you need DSPLN, she said, striking her PP again. Anka's eyes widened in pleasure each time she was struck. 1 hour later. Hold your peach up high, Yuta said with a smile as Anka had her face down. Now you called yourself what was it, Countess von Fingerbang, Yuta said as she spanked her with the paddle. Yes, Anka said honestly. Good, tell me the truth, Anka, Yuta said, pleased. The Anka was forthcoming. Now has anyone ever touched you before me? She asked her curiously. No, Anka said as she was a grade A version. Good, you can give yourself to Naruto then, Yuta said, feeling excited, but like I said, I need to train you, so I want you to count each strike you receive, she said as she smacked Anka's peach the paddle. Next morning. Anka felt a stinging sensation from her peach as it was still bright red after Yuta's treatment. She was brought out of her thoughts when Yuta threw her a schoolgirl uniform. Hope you're ready, cause tonight is your night, Yuta said with a lustful grin. Later that day. Naruto just arrived in his apartment after much training and wanted to relax a little. As he sat down on his couch he heard giggling and soon saw Yuta and Anka in small, tight, and see-through schoolgirl uniforms. Hello daddy, Yuta said with a shameless smile. We've been very naughty and need to be punished, she said with a grin. Naruto just chuckled and decided to go along. They both sat on one side of rubbing their bodies against him. Yuta, I want you over my lap right now, he said in a stern and serious tone of voice. Yuta wasted no time and laid belly down on his lap and smiled as he pulled up her skirt to reveal she had no panties. Dirty SLT, no panties, Naruto said, giving her a hard slap. Yes daddy, I'm such a salty girl not wearing panties, Yuta said in excitement. Anka was really getting off watching this as she had a stream of PP juices run down her legs. You have no shame, my little girl needs to be punished, Naruto said, changing her position, making her sit on his lap before ripping off her top, sending buttons flying. And what about you, Anka, have you been a naughty girl? He asked the blonde woman as he used one hand to grope Yuta's melons. No daddy, I've been good, Anka said nervously. Then come give daddy a kiss, Naruto said, wanting to see how far he could push her. Anka moved closer and gave him a quick peck on the cheek. On the lips, Naruto said with a grin. Anka moved toward his face and slowly began to kiss him as it slowly built up, becoming more SNSL and definitely more SXL. Naruto soon pulled away and whispered something into Yuta's ear. Yuta got up off Naruto's lap and stood in front of him as Naruto got Anka on his lap. Now Anka, Naruto said, rubbing his PP against her PP, I want you to know I don't like liars, he said sternly. I haven't lied, Anka said nervously. Oh, you haven't lied, Countess von Fingerbang, Naruto said, raising a brow. I know you haven't been touched, but I don't like you making false claims, he said as he got her into the cowgirl position. So now you're gonna earn that title, he said to her with a primal and devilish grin. Anka as she felt Yuta rub her CLT as Naruto rubbed his PP between her PP lips. You'll need a lot of practice if you want to live up to your title, Naruto said teasingly. I'll practice, daddy, I'll do whatever you want me to do, Anka said as she desperate to be penetrated. Yuta smiled as she looked at Anka's exposed and vulnerable peach and began fingering it. Hope it'll be ready when Naruto takes it, she said, whispering into Anka's ear. Now Anka, will you be my good girl? Naruto asked her curiously. Yes daddy, I'll be good, Anka said as she wanted to be F. Naruto grinned as he thrusted his PP into her, making her scream in pleasure and pain as he took her virginity, and after the brief time she got to adjust, Naruto began to F her. Welcome to the start of your new life, Anka, Yuta said, kissing the girl as Naruto F her. Next day. Hello old daddy, Yuta said as she looked at the phone Yuta was using to record her. She was wearing a bathrobe and sat next to Naruto, who was on the couch irked, and she began to slide him. This is my new daddy, he F me like a cheap SLT, I drink and service him regularly, she said as she began to blow him and soon disrobed and sat on his lap, aligning his PP with her PP and began to bounce on his PP. I'm his D sleeve AB for him to F, so goodbye old daddy, she said as she climaxed. Yuta smirked as she sent the message after blurring out Naruto's face. Few weeks later. I swear I'm going to vomit, seriously mom, is every time you call me there is some murdery or SXL element when I get there, Naruto said, looking at his mother with a stern look. And seriously my building, why, he said to her as his mother fully moved into her apartment here as she didn't want to deal with Trudy Beekman any longer. Few minutes later. UF killed him, can I ask why, Naruto said as he got his mother all alone. Mallory chose to stay silent, thinking that was the proper course of action. Okay, if you're not going to talk then I will. First, the angle of that wound on your arm indicated self-inflicted, and I'm willing to bet that if you remove your coat we'll see burn mark on your arm which indicated a self-inflicted gunshot, but seeing as what was going to happen to Savio in that suit, I probably don't want to see what under the coat. Second, you fired 3 shots from less than 15 feet away and miss, which I highly doubt. A year back you shot Sterling more or less the same distance, 5 round center mass through the door, all in a tight group. Remember mom, you taught both Sterling and I how to shoot, we know how good you are. Last is the number of shots fired. 9 the exact number of rounds in your Walther PP, chambered for 32 ACP. 1 in the arm, 3 at the door, leaving 5 which Mr. Savio has currently in his chest, Naruto said, going into full detail. Nothing escapes you, huh? Mallory said, sighing in exhaustion, feeling her chest swell a little with pride. I called the cops, they should be arriving any minute, we need to distract whoever it is while Krieger works, she said quickly. I'll call someone, make this sound and look like a hoax, Naruto said to her. 15 minutes later. Excuse me Mr. Murphy, but I hate to inform you, but I feel this is a celebrity hoax. I'm merely enjoying dinner with some close friends, you can look around if you need to, but I can say for sure no murder has happened here, Rona said to the detective. Yes Miss Thorne, and again I apologize, must have been someone wanting to make some false claims, Murphy said as Rona had given him an autograph and everything. He did a quick check and found nothing. How'd you know he'd be a fan? Mallory asked her son, seeing the detective leave. A lot of people are fans for celebrities, and if he wasn't he would have chalked this up as celebrity gossip, Naruto said to her simply. Always the clever one, Mallory said with a smile. And don't worry about the body, Krieger will dispose of it carefully. He's putting the bones in acid and is using the building's incinerator to burn away the flesh, Naruto said as he was a little glad he threw some money Krieger's way to get better equipment. Few minutes later. Lana, you coming? Naruto said as they were all in the elevator. Go on without me, Lana said as Naruto shrugged and left. She went back inside and looked at Mallory. Okay, where do you get those costumes? She asked the woman who looked at her oddly. Few days later. You are so lucky I didn't shoot you, Naruto said to Ray as he was packing gear. So where we going? He asked Ray curiously as he packed. Virginia, Ray said to him. Great, an 8-hour drive. Wanna take the first shift? Naruto asked him curiously. Sure, but I need a favor, Ray said to him. 1 hour later. So your brother the DRG farmer is growing vid? Okay, Naruto said as he sent a text to Slater to confirm something for him. Yeah, and thanks for letting me borrow Cheryl, Ray said as he drove. Told her your brother might have her favorite DRGs, Naruto said as Cheryl liked to party. Nice, Ray said as that was a little funny. Hold on, getting a call, Naruto said seeing it was from Slater. Okay, so here's the deal, this guy, Randy Galit, apparently is getting paid by the government to grow stuff for that high fructose corn syrup but is using it for vid, Slater said to him. And how much vid we talking here? Naruto asked curiously as getting paid by the government for crops seemed like Randy would be well paid. Enough, trust me on that, Slater said to him. So you want a hand? He asked, feeling the need to help his friend. Nah, it's cool thanks man, Naruto said to him before sending a text and soon receiving another call. My mother has zero connections to this man and I called Moto. Apparently the man Randy is working for in some up and comer, so feel free to do whatever you like, Mercedes said quickly over the phone. Naruto began mentally thinking about preparations for what he'd do when he got there. Few hours later. Ray, stop, Naruto said, stopping him as he immediately saw certain areas where the soil had been dug up. Minefield, he said to him. Oh my god, Randy, Ray said, calling out. Randy, where the F you that map? A blonde woman with a revealing outfit said she had high DD cup melons, curvy body, and a nice round peach. Heel, Ray said to Naruto. Few minutes later. Holy SHT, Naruto said, seeing a barn filled with multiple rows of vid. Yep, Randy said very proudly. Few minutes later. You want me to help you sleep with your brother's wife? Naruto said as the man was claiming it was something out the Bible. Yeah, so if you could dash, Randy was saying till Naruto shot him with a dart. Sorry but that's not gonna happen. I will bang your wife though, Naruto said, walking away, but not before leaving Randy in a pig pen. Few minutes later. He was gonna what? Ray said in surprise. Yeah, Naruto said as it must have felt like a huge betrayal to Ray. Where is he now? Ray asked him. Knocked out in a pig pen. You have a problem with me banging his wife? Naruto asked, not wanting to cross a line with his friend. No take that B from him, Ray said to Naruto, knowing women were drawn to him like sharks were to BLD. Cool, hey Janelle, Naruto said, calling her out hearing she was by the barn. Few minutes later. Let's go screw, Naruto said simply, and Janelle immediately ran into the barn and laid on a big bush of vid. Sorry, no kissing, Janelle said to him, and was surprised when Naruto grabbed the back of her head and slammed his lips against hers, dominating her mouth. F that, Naruto said, momentarily pulling away before he continued to kiss her and ripped off her top, exposing her melons, and groped them with his free hand. Janelle thought to herself as she was giving into the kiss, feeling much pleasure, more than she ever experienced. She could only watch in lust as Naruto pulled away and grabbed both sides of her shorts and pulled them off her. No BR or panties FSLT, Naruto said as he strppd himself. Janelle didn't know why, but that comment made her shiver slightly, and seeing Naruto's PP certainly added fuel to her burning longing, and she let out a loud as he thrusted himself fully into her PP, something she was not prepared for. He's so rough, she thought as she slowly getting into it. Naruto pulled her into another kiss, feeling her get into it, giving him some tongue. Wait, Janelle said, breathing breathlessly. Let's have some fun, she said, reaching to a nearby table, grabbing a container. Brownies want one, she asked, taking one and scarfing it down as she sometimes partook in using vid. I'm good, Naruto said, liking to have his wits. Janelle was immediately high as she put more vid than brownie in her pot. Brownies and Naruto F her brought her further higher than nirvana. Let me ask you, what can your husband do? Can he satisfy you like this? Can he do anything by himself? Naruto said to her teasingly. Janelle couldn't even answer as she was too busy letting out of pleasure. Salty B, Naruto said, smacking her tips and her peach, making her scream even louder. Oh violence, Cheryl said as she walked in and began to strp. Hey handsome, she said, rubbing his chest as he Janelle. Hey babe, Naruto said as he pulled her into a kiss. So how is he B? Cheryl said teasingly, seeing the pleasured look on her face. Let me help you tame her mstr, she said, the last part coming out as a purr. Sure, Naruto said, kissing the cheek to his psychotic redhead. Cheryl immediately looked around trying to find something and soon came back with a rope she tied around Janelle's neck and a riding CRP. Get her on all fours please, she asked Naruto, and he did as she requested, getting the woman on all fours and used the rope as a leash. Few minutes later. I do not know how you do it, Ray said as Janelle was fawning over Naruto when she was usually an uptight pain in the peach B. Yeah, me neither. Also here 50 grand, Naruto said to him, thinking he should be paid for his brother's idiocy. If you can times that by 4, Ray said, being smart as Naruto soon coughed up the money. Yakuza bought all the vid, Naruto said as they really liked their DRGS. OSHT the cops, Ray said as his brother's hillbilly life actually paid off as he had a CB radio on the police band, hearing they were on their way. Let's go, Naruto said, having a vid plant and left it under Randy's arm. Naruto and Ray grabbed the crazy women and then took off. Next day. Naruto decided to spend the day with Ray, wanting him to know that they were friends and were closer than that. Not like that, Ray, he said as Ray misinterpreted his meaning as he began to feel him up. My bad, Ray said nervously. You're like another brother to me, Naruto said as they shared a hug. You grab my but I'll give you a robotic hand, he said to Ray, who tensed up. Penthouse. Naruto looked at his brother sadly as he mourned and cried slightly from the loss of his possible father, and was blaming himself as he left the man to go have an org. He had collected Jakov's corpse and reluctantly gave it to Krieger, cause if anyone who experimented on radiation as much as he did would know certain tricks about experimenting with it or finding certain things about certain specimens. At least that's what I assume happens with the pig, he thought to himself as Krieger did a lot of things to that pig. Naruto was brought out of his thoughts as his phone rang. Hello boy, a familiar voice said over the line. Manfred, Naruto said as he cursed under his breath. Time to settle this boy, Manfred said over the line. 1 hour later. I honestly didn't expect you to show up considering your weapons are useless, Manfred said confidently, talking out a gun. Naruto smirked as he raised a shotgun with explosive ammo. Oh, a gun, I'm so scarred, Manfred said as he laughed and was then shot in the chest and actually felt the shot. Don't worry, I only brought 4 shells, Naruto said as he took out some glass vials. What is that? Manfred said as he glared at Naruto. Naruto smirked and threw it at Manfred's chest. Aw, what is this? Manfred said as he screamed in pain. Hydrochloric acid, Naruto said as he picked some up from Krieger. Manfred screamed in pain as his chest was literally melting. I'll bring this to Krieger, see if the Russians did a better job or not, Naruto thought to himself, picking up the robot's body. Few weeks later. What can you tell me about this guy Slater? I need info, Naruto said as he and the others were driving to the shuttle's location and had called Slater immediately. Believe it or not, he's clean, Slater said to him as he pulled up the man's file. That's what worries me. For all I know, this D-head is the mutineer. He's too scared and worried, Naruto said to himself. Look up his personal life. Anything out of the ordinary? Hell, he said to him. Looks like this guy is addicted to the apocalypse and other things relating to it, Slater said, seeing many disaster-type situations the man followed. The apocalypse, Naruto said, raising an eyebrow. Yeah, to each their own, I suppose. Anyway, I gotta go, Slater said, hanging up. I'll need to be careful, Naruto thought to himself. Next day. Here, Naruto said, handing Lana some medicine for her nausea and motion sickness. Thanks. Sorry about all that, Lana said as she literally puked her guts out. Maybe you should have something a little less heavy like crackers or something before the launch, Naruto said, not wanting to deal with all of that again. Sounds like a plan, Ray said as he came out the shower with Cyril. Again sorry, Lana said as she felt bad enough both literally and figuratively. Next day. Seriously mom, you're really going the mile or 100-mile for SEC, Naruto said as he saw her getting into a space suit. Oh please, Mallory said in a sarcastic tone. Naruto sighed and walked away and went to do some looking around and soon saw the research and development area. Space gun. Seriously, he thought, taking out a flash drive, copying the schematics and sent them to Krieger. A few prototypes are here, he thought, looking around, and soon found a pistol like blaster. 25 shots, not bad, he thought as he learned that the blasters had a limit of shots but could be reloaded as it ran on a battery. 100 shots in total, he thought as he also saw the next model blaster had about 200 in total. 1 hour later. You prepared? Naruto asked as Pam and Cheryl snuck aboard and he found them quickly and gave them some weapons as he expected a SHT show. Few minutes later. How did you get aboard? Tony said to the girls. We were bored, Pam said as she and Cheryl shrugged. Naruto sent Mallory a look as he informed her ahead of time for their stowaways. Tony soon let the issue go and debriefed them on the weaponry, everything going smoothly till his brother, half D and half drunk, shot some of their friends. Few minutes later. Feeling better? Naruto asked Lana, wondering if the DRGS helped. Yeah thanks, Lana said as she kissed him. You enjoyed my brother's mess up a little too much, Naruto said as he saw her smile when Cyril was in pain. What can I say? I love seeing people I hate suffer, Lana said with a smirk as she smiled even more hearing Sterling B from the hold. Few minutes later. Naruto was currently looking over the list of agents in the station. A little over 60 ain't bad, but there will be little surprise and the playing field is even, except they know the station better, putting us at a disadvantage, he thought as one could read a map easily, but compared to a person that lived in a playset and knew the art better, there was no competition on who knew better. I'll set my blasters to stun, save myself the trouble, he thought as he was taking 2 blasters. Few minutes later. They're mobilizing, Naruto thought, looking through the exterior camera. Time to go to work, he said as he stood in front of everyone. Retake the ship, Tony said, charging as soon as the doors opened. Suppressing fire, Cyril said to himself. Idiots, Lana and Ray said as they could understand Cyril in all his stupidity, but they expected more from Tony. Get behind me please, Naruto said as he shoved the 2 out of the way and stopped before he turned the corner. He pushed a create forward and multiple shots were fired at it, and in that moment he knew where the shooters were and jumped and made some shots in the direction, stunning 5 men. You see that, Cyril? That is how you be an agent and act in combat, Lana said to him. And be CC Peach hell, Ray said as Lana agreed immediately. Come on, we need to hurry, Tony said loudly, pushing past Naruto, and was soon shot. Seriously, we're infiltrating the enemy, why would you yell? Naruto asked him incredulously as he immediately shot the man. 6 in total, he thought, keeping track. You know, watching him work is both CC and entertaining and inspiring, Ray said to Lana. You don't have to tell me, Lana said as watching Naruto work was amazing. Naruto signaled them to keep following and soon approached another corner. He took out a mirror he had and saw 12 men. Lana, Ray, back me up when I give you the signal, he said, whispering to them. Cyril, be useful, Ray said, giving him Tony as he and Lana got locked and loaded. Naruto rushed and shot 4 men and got behind a few creates using them for cover, and soon 2 men approached him and Lana and Ray shot them, and Lana was able to get another man, leaving 3 in the hall. Dukes, Ray said as he got clipped, having a small gash, but powered through as they shot the remaining 3 in the hall. I swear we don't have time for this, Naruto said as he went to Cyril and ripped off a large chunk of cloth. Hey, Cyril said as he whined as Naruto then slapped him. Shut up, Naruto said as he then took out a flask and poured the contents on the fabric and ripped it in half, tying it around Rei's arm where the gash was then treated. Tony getting a wince. Man up, he said to the man. 12 more guys, Lana said as she looked ahead and saw them. Okay, Naruto said as he handed Rei his gun and gave Tony his. Together, he said to Lana and Rei. Suppressing fire, Cyril said as he rushed in and shot out and smiled as he was shooting. He actually made it, Naruto said a little amazed seeing all the men stunned. That panel over there, Tony said to him. Hope everything goes to plan, Naruto thought to himself. Few minutes later. Welcome to the danger zone, Tony said as Kellogg killed someone and the men who took their guns aimed them at them. Can I ask why you needed me and Lana, Naruto asked Tony. How'd you know we needed you both, Tony asked with a raised eyebrow. Flashback. Okay Krieger, before I kill you for draining my brother, tell me how you got here, Naruto asked, wondering how the man entered this place. Easy, I told security I was a friend of Mr. Drake, Krieger said to him. You know him, Naruto asked curiously as Krieger rarely lied and wasn't so good at it when he did and usually ran away. Yeah, he bought your and Lana's medical records off me, Krieger said as he informed Naruto of their prior meeting. Flashback end. That idiot sold our medical records, Rei said as he knew after he and the others got cybernetic enhancements Krieger had to have them to know what he was working with, but knowing he had sold Naruto's and Lana's felt like a huge violation and wondered if he did the same to the rest of them. Impressive Mr. Archer, but there is little you can do now, Tony said as his men aimed their guns. Yeah, well, I say screw that, Sterling said as made an appearance with Pam both holding 2 blasters. Men kill him, Tony said as he had enough of the man. The men that had blasters pulled the trigger and the blasters exploded. What? Kellogg said as his blaster wasn't firing anything. Surprise, Naruto said to them as he, Lana, and Rei took out their pistol blasters and he and the others each took out 6 people. How? Tony asked as he struggled. When I treated you I emptied your ammo not counting a single shot, didn't think you'd be able to kill someone that's on me, and for the guns exploding I showed Lana and Rei how to sabotage the gun and told them before if they had to hand it over to sabotage the guns, Naruto said to him. I also told them to carry these prototypes at all times and I brought the girls here to provide backup and asked Sterling to stay behind till I gave him the all clear or if he saw SHT hit the fan, he said as his brother smiled proudly for the butt kicking he was able to deliver. So what now? Lana said as all the men were stunned. Well, there are still a few rebels these morons wanted to have a sect cult on Mars, yet they only had 1 woman on the station. Morons, Naruto said as he picked up on some things quickly. Ew, the others said in disgust. Hey rebels, the cult heirs are stunned and in the comm center they're all yours, we're taking off, Naruto said over the comms. Krieger is gonna lose his SHT when I give him these spacebot schematics and adding it to that cyborg in his lab, he said with a smirk. No, Tony said as he charged Naruto only for Lana to shoot him. Okay, let's go home, Naruto said uncaringly before the station shook. Kellogg aka Commander, but the F was that, he said aiming the pistol at him. Docking, Kellogg said as he was then shot by Cyril. Sorry, Cyril said as he panicked as his finger slipped. Archer, a familiar voice to all of them said. Barry, Sterling said in anger. Naruto, where is Spacebot? He asked him seriously. Few minutes later. I'd like you all to know this is insane, Mallory said as they got on the ship. No SHT, Naruto said as he had Cyril in the pilot's seat. I'll be back, he said as he went into the station. Where's he going? Rei said as he looked at the cameras. With Sterling. You know Archer, this was fun, Barry said as he cracked his neck having some of his skin torn off. Hey Barry, wanna know something funny? Sterling said as he spit up some BLD. What is it stupid? Barry said humoring him. I F your fiancé, Sterling said as he wanted to rub it in again. Goodbye Archer, Barry said raising his hand to punch a hole in Sterling's chest only to get shot by an orb of pure power and got sent flying. SHT, this thing is strong, Naruto said holding a cannon energy blaster. Sterling, he said as he picked up his brother pulling him out of the suit, come on, he said as he carried him to the ship. Cyril, go, he said strapping his brother in and got in the co-pilot seat. As they took off, Cyril for once in his life did something that gained him much respect. He screwed Barry over as he destroyed the ship. 1 month later. I swear Naruto, I'm gonna kill him, Lana said in a cast. Join the literal glad I took care of all the injuries on scene, Naruto said with a chuckle as after they landed, he rushed to everyone treating them on scene as best he could. You know there's a lot we can do while I'm immobile, Lana said suggestively. Lana was lightly as Naruto began to finger her. No panties Lana USLT, Naruto said to her as he kissed her neck. You get no resistance from me handsome, Lana said as she rarely wore panties nowadays with how sexually active she was. Let me call your nurses, Naruto said snapping his fingers as Miko and Keiko came in wearing short and revealing nurse outfits. The assassins, Lana said as she knew Naruto had been training them refining their skills along with Anka and Yuta. Hello MSTRS, we are here to care for you, Miko said to her as they both bowed before approaching her and both took off her sweater dress and both latched onto one of her tips eating on it lovingly and tenderly. You trained them well, Lana said complimenting their work. We are here to answer your every whim MSTRS, Keiko said with a smile. You are our MSTR's wife and we are his concubines, anything you longing or wish for we will do, Miko said to her. Good girls, Lana said as she petted their heads. I love when my SLTs behave and know their place, she said as she groped their asses. Naruto, how much longer do I have to wear the cast, she asked him as she began to kiss Keiko. A few more days but you can take it off, Naruto said as Lana didn't do any physical activities so her leg should be healed. Lana smiled taking the cast off and got up and smiled as she was now able to stand. Miko, you are with me, she said as she gave Keiko to Naruto. No, Naruto said grabbing Lana's hand before she went over to Miko. I'm gonna F you Lana, I've waited a month, I'm gonna F you now girls, he said as the girls moved quickly and held Lana in place. I think you need to be brought down a peg Lana, you know Miko and Keiko wanted to be lowest on the HRM, they want to serve, trust me they get off on it but they serve me ultimately, he said as both women smiled and winked at him. You're mine tonight, he said to her. Am I not any other night, Lana said receiving slaps from the twins on her ass cheeks. You will respect our MSTR, Miko said to her. And let him F you, Keiko said as she was serious. Listen girls, I love the devotion but I am still your MSTRS, Lana said to them. Not tonight, Naruto said raising her up and dominated her mouth with a kiss. Lana as he dominated her and louder as Miko and Keiko bound her hands and feet in leather wrist cuffs and put a ring GG on her mouth. Not sit there and watch, Naruto said as both women gave him a tip job liking his PP. Lana in frustration as she watched them service her husband. I should have kept my mouth shut, she thought as her PP moistened from longing. MSTR, please shower us in your juice, Keiko said beggingly as she became addicted to his juice. Silence sister, our MSTR may do whatever he wishes to our bodies, Miko said to her sister. Get on your hands and knees, Naruto said as they did as instructed and he began to F Keiko's peach and finger Miko's PP. 2 hours later. Are you gonna behave now, Naruto said to Lana who nodded furiously. Lana looked at Miko and Keiko in envy as Naruto F'd them into blissful comas. Now are you gonna behave, Naruto said as he began to spank her peach making Lana as she kept eye contact, her face becoming flushed as she didn't hide her smirk seeing her nod. Now I'm gonna remind you Lana, I let you mess with the other girls, I let you, he said shoving his member in her PP never breaking eye contact. He's always ran the HRM, Lana thought as she felt herself tighten thinking everything she had done was just to maintain the HRM, all I did was manage it, she thought feeling like a fool as Naruto F her. Naruto moved her ring GG kissed her invading her mouth. All Lana could do was as Naruto had complete control over her that night. Few months later. Naruto smiled walking his mother down the aisle as today was her day and he was happy to be there for her. He also was glad that he had drugged his brother as he had planned on ruining this day in his drunken state. Hope Linda is doing alright, he thought as Linda was watching over Sterling. Next month. We can sell this back to Odin or give to Krieger, Naruto said to his mother as he recovered the uranium Luke Troy had stolen. Seriously, how in the name of God is Krieger still alive with all the radiation CRP he does? Mallory asked him seriously. Also, how is your brother? She asked curiously. Thinking about every gay fantasy he's had, Naruto said as Sterling had admitted to some gay feelings he had over the years. I love you, you know that, right? Mallory said as she was getting older and hadn't said much to him or his brother as she knew her time was limited. Of course Mom, I love you, Naruto said as they hugged. Now get out, and if you tell anyone about this I'll have your guts for garters, Mallory said with a smirk as she was being half serious. Whatever you say, Naruto said as he left. Next week later. Naruto, thank God, can you please do my surgery? Ray asked Yiling in his sleepy state. Sure, Naruto said before punching Krieger in the stomach. That was for not calling me. Were you seriously gonna do the surgery yourself? He asked as Krieger was not a good surgeon. He was more likely to kill and poison someone with an infection of some unknown origin. Few hours later. No, Naruto said seeing the liquid radiation syringe. Ray, my brother is your roommate. Sorry, he's dehydrated, he said to the cyborg man. It's fine, Ray said a little weak seeing Archer cuffed to his hospital bed. Next day. You are afraid of robots cause of a vacuum. You were gonna kill me for that, Ray asked Sterling as he listened to the man talk in his sleep. Shut up, Sterling said as he glared at Ray. No way, I'm telling everyone, Ray said as this was too good. Sterling then glared at him wishing he had his gun with him. Few days later. When your brother goes on a bender it really is fun, Katia said as they were in Montreal playing cards. Yep, Naruto said as he won a hand making the people nearby flip him off. Darling, how about we play for higher stakes, Katia said as she removed her panties and placed them above her chips. I think you understand the wager, she said as many people let out catcalls and wolf whistles from her bold actions. Everyone watched and saw Naruto pull out a royal flush beating Katia's decent hand. Guess you won my money and me, Katia said with a grin. Few minutes later. I love you darling, Katia said with a smile as she got naked and was on his lap and soon began to bounce on his lap riding his pee-pee. Naruto relaxed and watched her tips sway with motion. Katia could only mmm as Naruto's pee-pee never ceased to give her such great and intense pleasure. I swear all I can ever think about is him f me, she thought to herself as her mind drifted. Katia remembered all the gallons of juice he made her drink and swallow, stuffing her holes to the brim with it, making her drink it or adding it to her food. Naruto smiled as he watched Katia CLMX repeatedly, him never having once to pull out, and when it was time for him to unleash his load he filled her to the brim in one go. Next is you Peach, he said, giving her no time for rest. He gives new meaning to be for women, Katia thought as she rode his pee-pee feeling it destroy her Peach. Her mind brought her to all the positions he had her in and the places which were very risky. I'm gonna wreck you Katia, Naruto said whispering in her ear. Do it my love, Katia said as she knew what happened with Lana as she frequently used the twins. Next day. Katia thought with a shiver of pleasure with Naruto's member still inside her. She slowly tried to get up as she pulled Naruto's pee-pee out of her, but screamed in pleasure when she was brought back down onto the bed. Hope you're ready for more Katia, Naruto said with a savage smile that made Katia feel weak. My pee-pee is already sore and raw, Katia thought as Naruto her well and more the other day, and now he was still going. She let out a massive CLMX soon, and as Naruto pulled out and she panted an when Naruto slapped his member coated in her juices across her face. Meet me in the shower, Naruto said, getting up and walked into the bathroom. Katia limped her way to the bathroom being fueled by lust. The moment she made it inside she blushed as she saw the water cling to Naruto over his Adonis-like body. She got to her knees and rubbed Naruto's pee-pee over her face. Naruto smiled as he watched Katia play with his pee-pee and kiss it. Katia as Naruto grabbed her head and faced her. 2 hours later. Katia as she looked at the room and saw it was covered in SEC stains and smelled like SEC. He's getting rougher, she thought, liking her lips as Naruto was becoming more and more DMNT, and that thought brought her great pleasure. 30 minutes later. Screw this, Naruto said as he and Katia shot the driver of the oncoming car and threatened Ron to pull over. 15 minutes later. Okay, here all your illegal money, Naruto said throwing Ron some bags of cash. Also someone by the name Fat Mike was giving them intel, he said as Ron was shocked. Now let's go home or my mother will kill all of us, he said as they all drove. 1 hour later. Naruto was cleaning up Ron and stealing all his crackers and jams and juices or whatever childish food item he had so he wouldn't interrupt the opera as his mother would go ballistic if he got them kicked out. 2 hours later. This is bullshit, Sterling said as they were taking mother to dinner. Come on, this is a good day for her, SCK it up, Naruto said as it wouldn't kill him to spend time with his actual family. Few days later. Sit, Naruto said to the dog commandingly stopping its charge at them. How'd you do that? Lana asked as that was impressive. Most dogs if threatened will attack, but if a trained dog is given an order it will act rationally as it will understand, Naruto said as he was using hand gestures as well making it easier as dogs responded to that better. He's so cute isn't he, aren't you boy, Sterling said as he kneeled down and petted him. Let him have his moment, Naruto said knowing what Lana was gonna do. 1 hour later. I swear these people know PP about strategy, Naruto said as he was on a roof above a group of men. He was very glad he carried a grenade and threw it toward the clumped up men, shooting it before it even hit the ground. Go go go, Lana said as they ran to the hovercraft and took off. Can't believe you didn't want to rob those idiots, Sterling said to Naruto as he made it on. Rob them of what they have, old AK-47s that ain't much, man, Naruto said to him. 3 days later. Here mom, Naruto said as he handed her a small puppy. Oh my god, Mallory said as she looked at the puppy, she looks just like Duchess, she said with a smile as she petted the female pup. Yeah, well, I'm letting Sterling keep his dog and decided why not get you one, and that actually is a puppy from Duchess' sister, so it's legit, Naruto said as after the desert mission and the usual Sterling and his mother's bullshit about Duchess he thought this'd be a good way to shut both of them up. Mallory smiled as the puppy rubbed up against her adorably. 1 week later. Hey, thanks for helping guys, Naruto said to the team as they were helping him with a project. No problem, I mean normally I wouldn't do this but you're a friend so I'll SCK it up, Ray said as he was on the floor with a staple gun. Yeah, I mean, I do this like, a lot, Krieger said as he seemed too natural about doing this, he even seemed to know more than Naruto. Ow, Cyril said as he ate on his thumb as he hit it with a staple. Grow up, Pam and Lana said, both covered in white paint. Oh my god, Cheryl said as she looked inside and was amazed. Here, top quality, Sterling said coming in with a SHT ton of booze and also a new glass bar set. I'll call her, Naruto said as he picked up the phone. Mom, hurry, Cheryl lit the mainframe on fire, he said as Krieger gasped at that remark. 20 minutes later. Naruto, I expect this idiocy from your brother but this is crossing a line. Where are you taking me? Mallory asked curiously as Naruto blindfolded her and told her he lied when she walked in through the ISIS entrance. Naruto just smirked. It's a surprise, he said as he laughed a bit. Mallory sighed as she knew where they were going as she instinctively knew the route to her office. Okay, keep your eyes closed, Naruto said with a smirk as he took off her BLNDFLD. Mallory sighed as she kept her eyes closed. Now open them, Naruto said with a smile. Mallory opened her eyes and then screamed in joy seeing her office was newly refurbished with new carpet, furniture and paint, everything in a pure white, and all her workers in Naruto's inner circle smiled at her. He made us do it, whole thing was his idea, Ray said, ratting Naruto out. Paint will be dry by tomorrow, Pam said to Mallory as she took off. Here, new glasses, Sterling said as Naruto made him get like 20 glasses since he or mother were likely to break them in a fit of anger or just drunkenness. Mallory actually cried. And was grateful for this gift. She actually smiled at everyone and thanked them. This is how things should be, Naruto thought as they all left to the break room as Mallory's new office wasn't meant for a party. Italy. Here you go Woodhouse, Naruto said as he was giving the man some body armor as they were assisting Mallory's friend preventing an assassination. That claymore ready, he asked them curiously as he wanted these people dead quick. Set, Pam said as she was a little high right now. You really need a case for those needles, Naruto said as he looked at Woodhouse knowing about his addiction knowing it and despite his disapproval he knew Woodhouse was too addicted to it. What are our jobs again? Sterling asked as he drank wine he found in the basement. We are to stand back outside hiding so in case any reinforcements come we kill them, Lana said tossing him his AK-47. Well as long as you got my backs, Naruto said as he held a rocket launcher seeing cars pull up. 2 hours later. Can he even survive without Woodhouse? Lana asked as Naruto was giving Woodhouse a vacation here in Italy and the father was watching over him acting as his host. I babysit him as is won't be any different, Naruto said to her. Lana smiled slightly at the word baby and put a hand on her stomach. 1 week later. Naruto, Cheryl said walking into his room. What's up? Naruto said working out in just his boxers. I need a favor, Cheryl said sensually as she looked at the sweat on his abs. Ask away, Naruto said not stopping his workout. Remember when those assholes tried to kidnap me a while back? Cheryl said getting an odd look from Naruto. Yeah, Naruto said as he found it was a cold trail as whoever paid them made the one who paid pay through a series of connections just for the down payment. Turns out it was my brother, Cheryl said sounding annoyed as she scoffed in disgust. Naruto had to admit that Cheryl's family made it seem a hell of a lot better as while Cheryl had her violent tendencies and quirks, and arson habits, but her brother was just as bad with his own habits as he was a gullible idiot paying for things that may have sounded good but in the end were a waste of money and often made things worse. And he just called your mother for a meeting, Cheryl said with a smile on her face. And you're happy why? Naruto asked as it was a little concerning when Cheryl was happy about something she normally would be angry about was always cause for alarm. I want you to F his girlfriend, Cheryl said having a sadistic grin. She is AFB, she said remembering how annoying she was. I want her to be put in her place, she said with a smile knowing Naruto would in fact wreck and destroy her. Destroy her please, she said as she really wanted to see her be wrecked by her lover just to see her become a mess. Sure, Naruto said to her simply as her brother seemed to have it coming with the SHT he pulled with his money and what he did to Cheryl. Next day. Naruto knew the meeting was in a few days so he had time to do some research and found out Cecil and found where he had been staying. She's okay, Lana said looking at a picture Cheryl gave her of Tiffany or Tiff for short. I can actually use a person like her she's smart, Naruto said as she had natural skills with flying and other things. They chartered what's basically a helicopter hotel for transport, Lana said seeing Cheryl's brother recent purchases and saw a high-quality helicopter. Screw that I'd never pay that, Naruto said as the price was almost criminal. Anyway I'll go meet her and see what we're dealing with, he said as he approached a bar where she was staying. 20 minutes later. No way you seduced her that fast, Lana said as she was playing games on her phone. I basically did this was so easy I'm not kidding, Naruto said as he guessed Cecil wasn't a good partner in bed or the relationship and Naruto's reputation with the environment certainly helped grease the wheels. Next day. Drop it Naruto, Sterling said as they were having a standoff. Not a second into the mission and you two are trying to kill each other, Ray said as he carried and dropped the mission bags. What peach lips do now? Lana asked curiously. Peach lips? Sterling asked curiously. It basically means everything that comes out of your mouth is SHT, Lana said getting some laughs from the others. Phew, Naruto said as the helicopter rose. What did he do? Cyril asked wanting to prepare for the worst. Why the hell did you bring my grandchildren on this mission? Mallory yells after seeing a door open revealing Tina, Jean, and Louise. That answers that question, Ray said rolling his eyes. I thought it would be a good bonding experience for us. Archer said as he shrugged. Very well but you are on thin ice mister. Now Louise how about grandma teaches you how to hog tie an insurgent? Mallory asks. Yes score best grandma ever. Louise yells in excitement. "Ah, aren't you precious? Now Cyril, come here, we need a volunteer," Mallory says with a smile while Cyril gulps, seeing Louise have a savage grin on her face as she caresses a rope she got from somewhere. "I swear," Naruto said, rolling his eyes. "Hey Cheryl, bathroom," he said to her. Cheryl jumped for joy hearing that and ran into the bathroom and dropped to her knees. "We're not doing that now," Naruto said to her, getting a whine. "The ship has cameras in every room besides here, illegal in bathrooms," he said to her. "Cecil plans to make a tape to give to a judge to get control of your inheritance," he said, explaining Cecil's plan. "F him," Cheryl said to him angrily. "No one is giving you up," Naruto said as he filled in everyone not to say anything, "and if this mission goes as expected we'll have money, a lot of it," he said as he did a check into all of his finances, and there was only one thing out here. 1 hour later. "Hey Ray, mind flying this thing?" Naruto asked him curiously. "There's something wrong with the pilot?" Ray asked curiously and got a look from Naruto. "Oh my god, seriously, you need to write a book," he said as he kinda wanted to get as laid as much as Naruto did as the man had game. Few minutes later. "So you really think I can be a part of your environmental preservation team?" Tiff asked in excitement as they were in a bedroom inside the plane. "Yep," Naruto said with a smirk, "but I need some convincing that you're loyal," he said to her. "I mean, Cecil is an idiot, but I know you were going along to help him put Cheryl in an institution, so I need some proof of loyalty," he said to her with a smirk. Tiff actually blushed as he was really handsome and she actually had pictures of him she fingered herself to as he had helped the environment in many ways. "What do you want me to do?" she asked with a blush on her face. "STRP," Naruto said with a smirk. Tiff wasted no time and undid her tracksuit, unzipping her jacket and taking it off, showing she wasn't wearing a bra, freeing her large DD cup melons, and pulled down her pants, showing rather bold black panties which rode her large plump peach. She pulled down her panties and didn't hide herself. If anything, she seemed proud, having Naruto eyes on her. "You'll do fine work for and under me," Naruto said, complimenting her, walking up close. "I'd do anything you ask, sir," Tiff said as she waited expectantly for him to use and play with her body. "I want these nice and wet, Tiff," Naruto said, handing her her own panties. Tiff blushed as she squatted down and began to finger herself, blushing brightly. "I want you to look at me, Tiff," Naruto said commandingly. Tiff blushed as she looked him in the eye, seeing him look right back at her, not even blinking, making her feel much more hotter as she felt more vulnerable. She couldn't help it when she climaxed. "Wow, you climaxed that fast," Naruto said teasingly as he took her now soaked panties. "Keep fingering yourself," he said as he took out a blindfold and tied it on her. He then took out his phone and sent a message. Soon the door opened silently and Cheryl walked in, closing the door and walking in a deathly silence. "What can I do to her, Mstr?" Cheryl asked in a whisper as she strppd down. "Whatever you want," Naruto said, seeing juices flow down her legs. Cheryl smiled in delight and walked over to Tiff completely naked and massaged her tips, pulling on her tips, making her out as she did. "Tiff, I want you to stand," Naruto said with a smirk, giving Cheryl a hand. Tiff did as instructed and loudly as she thought he was playing with her melons. "Turn around and place your hands on the bed," Naruto said sternly as he saw Cheryl working down. Tiff placed her hands on the bed and as her peach was now being spanked. Cheryl loved having Tiff at her mercy as it made her so wet. She looked at Naruto and blew a kiss his way. She got on her knees and used one hand to spank Tiff and the other to finger her peach. "Oh sir, I've never had that hole used before," Tiff loudly, only to feel it get fingered even harder as Cheryl saw that as an invitation. "Tiff, I want you to know I am very through when it comes to people in my employ. If you are gonna work for me, I need to know you inside and out, and I have to know you will do as you're told," Naruto said, hearing the woman loudly. Tiff would have responded if Cheryl didn't just then put her mouth in Tiff's PP. "Oh sir, oh I'll do whatever you want, anything sir, oh please use me however you want," she said lustfully before climaxing very hard. "Time to take off the blndfld," Naruto said to Cheryl. "Sup B," Cheryl said as she saw the shock look on Tiff's face. Before Tiff could say anything, Lana walked into the room. "Hi Tiff," Lana said with a smirk. "Glad to see you've joined the group," she said with a smile. "We're gonna have a lot of fun together," she said happily. Wait, Tiff said nervously. Sir, what's going on? She asked, feeling embarrassed and still lustful. You see, Tiff, I have many lovers and they work for me in many ways, Naruto said to her. Yep, and so do you, Lana said as she got close. Look at him. Do you honestly want to walk away? She asked in a whisper as they watched Naruto strp. And no, Tiff said, getting even hornier. Good, Naruto will give you what he promised and more, but you need to understand we do whatever he asks, Lana said as Cheryl nodded in agreement. Now I hope you're ready to get F like never before, she said teasingly. Oh, and before we start here, she said, handing over her digital pad to Tiff. Tiff looked at it and saw it was her and that she was being filmed. This is gonna be between us, don't worry, but we are gonna show it to Cecil, Lana said with a grin, hearing a light escape Tiff's mouth. Now then, Tiff, we wanna know, are you in or out? She asked, massaging her melons. Tiff's mind was in overdrive as she felt very hot to what has been said and desperately craved release. Seeing Naruto naked and in all his glory made it even more so. The bee is gone, Lana, Cheryl said as she smiled, seeing the lust in Tiff's eyes. Lie her down, Naruto said to them as they got Tiff on the bed and Cheryl got on top of her. It's gonna be so much fun, Tiff, think about all the fun times we'll have, Cheryl said as she fully intended to take all her aggression on Tiff's body whenever she could in the future. She as she felt Naruto spank her as he began. Tiff, this is your man, do you understand me? SLT, this will be the only PP in you forever, are we clear? She said as she loudly getting off on each hard slap. Sir, your PP is destroying my PP. I've never had a PP so big, Tiff said, crying in lust and pleasure. All you have had is my brother's weak PP. This is the PP of a man, Cheryl said to her with a smile. Naruto smiled as he had his way with all three women till they got closer and closer to the location. Few minutes later. So you can get me double what we're being offered? Mallory asked him. We get 100 million each, Naruto said to her. My little blackmailer, Mallory said with a proud smile which she soon lost as Sterling burped loudly, and my little pig, she said, giving him a look. That's why Duchess never liked him, you know, Naruto said to her, rolling his eyes. Mallory said as she took a sip of her drink. How'd me nieces and nephew do? Naruto asked her curiously. Well, Louise tied up and gagged Cecil and tortured him after Ray called Cyril to the cockpit. Tina and Jean eventually joined her in torturing him, but they paled in comparison to Louise. I have to say that girl has the gift and is a chip of her grandmother's block, that's for sure, Mallory says proudly. Come on, we go out in a few, Naruto said, calling the others. Yo, F up, he said as he went to Cecil. We know about the dumb SHT stunt you pulled, he said to him. Cyril put him in a room and Pam, you know what to do, he said to him with a smile as Pam dirged Cecil away to play the porno they just made. Enjoy, bro, probably the best and only show you'll ever see, Cheryl said, laughing in a sadistic manner. 1 hour later. SHT, this place is actually well maintained, Naruto said as one man did all this was simply impressive. And you're sure he doesn't have nerve gas missiles? Ray asked curiously. Ray, we had to take a sub here, Naruto said to him. And that means? Cyril asked in slight terror. We're too deep for anything to fire the nerve gas to be launched, Sterling said to him. They'd basically need to get rocket fuel to launch from this depth, and the missiles themselves would need to be nearly unbreakable as they are kept in gas containers so they'd burst. It's why we got this bitchin' sub, he said to them as he patted it. Tempered glass and highly precious metals, he said with a smile. Yeah, we're just gonna call his bluff, so Sterling, no rampage, Lana said as she gave him a fierce glare. Sure, Sterling said with a smile as no one could tell if he was being serious or sarcastic, or just an idiot. Few minutes later. Oh my god, Naruto Archer, sir, it's a pleasure, Murphy said as he shook Naruto's hand. Sir, your book and work are an inspiration, I swear it's an honor, sir, truly, he said, acting like a total fan. You have a book? Sterling asked curiously. Yeah, Lana is mentioned as my co-author, Naruto said as Lana did a lot of groundwork when she could and he even used some of her research papers from college. Oh Ms. Kane, a pleasure, Murphy said to him. It's Archer now, Lana said looking at Naruto. Oh congrats, Murphy said to them, can't believe that idiot actually got you too. Oh man, this is gonna be great, he said very excitedly. Yep, Naruto said as he and the others played along for a while. 20 minutes later. You know these are all extreme, right? Naruto asked as the whaling and fishing alone was gonna be ignored. I mean, maybe reduce supply and demand for intervals. I mean, we do that during winter, he said as fishing was greatly reduced then. Yes, but the population keeps growing and soon the world will run out of natural resources. Murphy said as he began going in depth. Feels like that PP with the space pirates, Naruto and the others thought. Hello, Murphy said loudly, reaching into his pocket. Gun, Cyril said as he jumped and pulled out a gun, grazing the man but also hitting the glass. Emergency lockdown, Naruto said as he closed the other sections of the base off. Hey, do sharks smell blood in water or the air? Ray asked the group. Water, why? Naruto said to him until he spotted what he saw, a colossal great white. You know, Lana, all those PRD jokes I made on the sub, I really hope I was wrong, Sterling said as sharks were climbing his list of fears. Okay, we need to manually open these doors to deal with this. We have about dash, Murphy was saying before they heard a crack. Less than 2 minutes, he said to them. Also, he said, punching Cyril in the face, breaking his nose. You so had that coming, Ray said as they opened the door, and as they got to the other side the glass burst. No, Naruto said as he hit the button to seal the door, but a lot of water got in right up to their necks, and to make matters worse the shark was blasted past them and they were trapped with it. Cyril, I want you to know, if we die I'm gonna strangle you with your own intestines, he said very seriously. Listen, we need to drain this room. There are 3 doors, we open them, less water for this thing to swim, Murphy said to them. I got Lana, Naruto said quickly. I got Ray, Sterling said quickly. Not in that way, but, he said as he dealt with Ray and his games in the past, those two are just the easy prey, he said as Murphy and Cyril were bleeding, making them targets. What? Cyril said in fear. Careful, they smell fear, Murphy said to him. Really? Cyril said in a whisper tone. No, jackass, that's mammals, Sterling said to him. With Naruto and Lana. This how you saw us spending our day? Lana asked as they were at their door. Nope, Naruto said as he didn't see this coming. And done, Lana said as the water poured out and went a few inches lower, reaching a little below their chests, and saw they reached some kinda greenhouse room. So when were you gonna tell me? Naruto said, placing a hand on her stomach. Of course you knew, Lana said as she hugged him. Wanna know some names I picked out? She asked him as she had one in particular for a girl. Naruto would have responded if he didn't see a large fin getting closer. Tables, he said, grabbing a shovel, and waited for the shark to make a move, but it soon left. Guys, it's coming, he called out. With Ray and Archer. Didn't you defuse bombs? Why the F is this taking so long? Sterling said to him. It's made a certain way, and why the F do you have Cyril's gun? We don't need you ricketying things into a worse position, but, Ray said as Archer. Listen, but I have shot a shark before, Sterling said before. After crashing a plane, Ray said as Naruto told him this story. Just means I have experience, Sterling said to him. Of being a moron, Ray said to him, and when he got no response he saw Sterling was gone from his spot and soon saw him moving away as he then spotted the shark. He said as they reached up and held onto a pipe in the ceiling. Sorry, I really wanted to live, Sterling said, seeing the shark pass him. Naruto, you alive? Ray called out. I'm fine to jackass, Lana's voice said loudly. Well, it's official, Cyril is gonna die, Sterling said as everyone shrugged. With Cyril. You know, considering who's on your team I expected you to be much less of a PP, Murphy said to Cyril. What's wrong with me? Cyril asked him. You're skittish, an idiot, a coward, a pansy peach, and these are all of the things I have guessed in knowing you for 5 minutes. Hell, you must SCK as an agent since you lost your DMN gun, Murphy said to him. Cyril checked himself frantically and found he had no weapon and soon saw the shark. With Naruto. I swear, Naruto said as he saw Ray being attacked by his brother's paranoia. It's not here, he said as he opened their door, the water reaching their waists. Well, I feel safer, Ray said, getting down. And what with me you didn't? Archer asked him, getting blank stares. They all soon heard a loud girly scream they all identified as Cyril's. Who wants to bet that our luck isn't good enough for that to have been Cyril getting munched by the shark? Sterling asked. Well, not now, Ray said to him. Yeah man, you totally jinxed it, Lana said to him as the water drained. Few minutes later. What the hell, Sterling said, seeing a dead shark and a half-eaten Murphy only seeing his legs. Okay, I am at a loss here, Anne. What is that smell? Naruto said as there was a terrible stench that smelled even worse than low tide. Ew, oh my god, Cyril, the F is wrong with you, Sterling said in disgust as he saw a rather large brown stain on Cyril's beige pants. You seriously should have worn the brown pants, he said, waving his nose. Did you SHT in the shark's mouth? Ray asked in disgust, seeing brown on its teeth. No wonder it's dead, Lana said as she backed away and threw up for many reasons. Okay, let's go, I want out, Naruto said as this was foul and disgusting. 1 hour later. Oh, $100 million, Mallory said in a very relaxed tone. My brother had little choice when Naruto talked to him, Cheryl said happily as her brother almost shitted himself as bad as Cyril did when he told him about all the crimes he committed and a threat to national security he was with the fake hydrogen bomb, which was all false and would have landed him some major jail time. 3 weeks later. Naruto was in his penthouse with Slater. So FBI is doing some bullshit, huh? He asked Slater. Yeah, all of ISIS except you will be arrested and charged with treason, Slater said to him. Why not me? Naruto asked curiously. You are a benefactor to the agencies and I haven't told Holly Jack about our side business, only a few higher ups, Slater said to him. I'll warn everyone to hide their assets, Naruto said to his close circle, and knew Pam would message everyone privately about this. Listen, Holly is an but to a major degree alright, Slater said as he disliked working with him sometimes. Gotcha, Naruto said to him. 1 month later. Well, we're fugitives and no longer agents, Sterling said as they were all getting drunk. No, our mother made us DRG dealers for the F-Feds, Naruto said as he caught the deal she made with the jackass. Is now a bad time to say I'm trying to be a country singer, Cheryl said to them, getting blank stares and shrugs. Great, how much is there to sell? Lana asked, seeing Mallory hit a button and saw many bags of cane. She said to herself. Hey Naruto, did they try and claim the building? Ray asked curiously. Be tried, Naruto said as Holly tried, failed, and looked like an idiot when he attempted. Don't worry, if you've done everything I've asked, your money is secure and you can keep all stuff in your apartments, Naruto said as the FBI was trying to steal everyone's stuff anyway. I called in some favors, we're selling this immediately, he said to them. How, we're not DRG dealers, Cyril said in his fearful tone. Mercedes and Maria's mother agreed to sell it for 10% of the profit. Moto owes me a favor, so I agreed to let him use Pam for his races to make him some money, so he's doing it for free. Janelle gave me a list of her and Randy's contacts for up here in New York, and Popeye said he can point us to some sellers in exchange for a little startup money for a project he has in mind, which I already covered, Naruto said to them simply. Dude, Ray said in shock, I swear you were made to be a kingpin, he said, being completely serious. Thank you, Naruto said as he got to work as they all made calls. Few days later. I kept it cool inside and the inside is made of a actual cast, you'll be fine, Naruto said as he helped Krieger made the cast. I am still pissed my mother made you leak, he said to Lana as they came to Miami for a secret deal their mother made. Who cares, we're handling the deal, Sterling said to him as he drank. Yeah, deal our mother set up, Naruto said as Archer got as tense as the others. 1 hour later. SHT, Naruto said as he saw Pam give his brother a head wound and eating the coke. She must have absorbed some coke into her skin, he thought, thinking her nerves made her sweat a lot more, making the cast moist enough for her to absorb it. 20 minutes later. Wake up, idiot, Naruto said, opening some smelling salts. Come on, not good to be knocked out with a head wound, he said to him. He was ignoring Pam go on about freezing and time travel to fix this. Let's go, we have an address, Lana said as she helped him lift the idiot up. I swear my mother's schemes will be the death of us, Naruto said as they made it to the car. 30 minutes later. No F gun, unbelievable, Naruto said as he was going to kill his brother for allowing HS Crush to get the better of him. He gave his palabra, Sterling said for the umpteenth time. How did you not kill him as a child? Lana asked Naruto curiously. It was harder than you think, Naruto said to her. Maria and Mercedes are here, sent them ahead, he said to her in a whisper, as they were here to help with this deal and possibly beat their father. 10 minutes later. I really need to kill you sometimes, Naruto said as his brother's past mission was coming to bite him in the butt. Oh my god, this is your brother, shame on you for stealing his style B, Charles said as he and Rudy took the coke. Down bastados, Maria said, shooting her gun at their guns, making them useless. Why wasn't I filled in, Sterling said to them. Because you are a dumbass, Mercedes said to him simply, and you're irking for my father is creepy man, she said as it was weird how attracted he was to her father. Me BBs, Ramon said before getting punched in both his eyes courtesy of his daughters. Fake million nice, Naruto said, leaving them half the coke just to avoid issues. Few days later. Pam breathed heavily as she made it to one of the sub-basement's many floors where the coke was stored, and soon she saw the pile of pure white powder, and just as she grabbed a brick, Naruto grabbed her hand and dragged her away. I allow my girls to use some DRGs Pam, but coke ain't one of them, Naruto said to her. I thought you'd detox on your own, but it seems I need to intervene, he said, dragging her to the elevator, pressing the elevator button going to a particular floor. Pam was a little worried as she was caught red-handed, or was it white-nosed, in this situation. Pam, I am disappointed in you, Naruto said sternly. You are not leaving this room until I say so, and you will do as you are told, he said to her as he went over to a light SWCH with many switches. I made this room to punish my girls if they had been bad and were going to use it, he said, flicking some switches as a STRPR pole pops up out of the floor, then a sex swing lowers from the ceiling. A panel opens on the wall revealing various paddles and riding crops, another panel opens revealing a walk-in closet with various outfits. STRP, he said, spanking her peach. Pam felt ashamed as Naruto was disappointed in her, so she did as she was told and STRPP'd down all of her clothes. Pam watched as Naruto sat on the couch and grabbed a riding CRP. I want you to lay on my lap, Naruto ordered as Pam did as she was told, and then he began to strike her peach with the riding CRP. Pam took each and every strike without complaining, not wanting to disappoint him more than she had done already, feeling her peach begin to sting as Naruto was not being gentle with her. Naruto stopped and pulled her up, looking at her bright red peach. In the closet there is a cow bikini with your name on it, he said to her. Pam went over to the closet and saw the outfits each having a name tag on them. Guess he's got one for every girl, she thought as she found the one with her name and saw a cow-themed bikini with a cow-eared headband, cow-themed leggings, and a red collar with a bell on it. She put it on but felt the bikini was too tight and guessed that was the point of this. Hands on the couch, Naruto said to her dominantly. Pam wondered if he was gonna spank her again, but out in surprise as he jammed a BTT PLG with a cow tail theme, completing her look as a cow. Stand up straight and stay still, Naruto said as he got naked and got behind Pam, sandwiching his PP between her peach cheeks as he reached around her and began massaging her tips in a similar motion to how one would milk a cow. Pam as he then began massaging her melons and pinching her tips, making her let out a whiny Whose tips are these, Pam? Naruto said, whispering into her ear. Yours, Pam as he pinched her tips even harder. I wonder how much milk are in my salty cow's tips, Naruto said, squeezing them even harder, making Pam blush as she louder. Grinding his PP between Pam's meaty peach had quickly made it rock hard, so Naruto reached down with his left hand and slid the bikini bottoms to the side before ramming his PP ball deep into Pam's wet womanhood in a single move, causing her to let out a loud as she climaxed just from the insertion. What a naughty cow, I have to leak just from me sticking my PP in her, Naruto growls out as he begins savagely sawing his PP in and out of her PP with long hard thrusts. With each pull out he would go all the way until just the head of his mighty meat was inside before ramming ball deep again, sending Pam's tips flying and her peach rippling from the force as she loudly and wantonly. Cheesy F Pete, you're deep. Pam yelled as Naruto continued his assault on her PP, somehow getting even deeper to the point she could feel the head of his PP battering on her, the entrance to her WMB sending massive jolts of pleasure up her spine with each hit. "You're DMN right, I am my naughty cow. If I don't go deep, how will you learn your lesson?" Naruto snarled as he continued his brutal F while using his hands to maul her tips. For what felt like hours to Pam, she was pierced by Naruto's mighty battering ram until finally she felt her inner sanctum give way and it entered her WMB, where it swelled before unleashing a flood of his little soldiers into her, setting off a massive orgasm for her. Then just as she felt that orgasm end, she was hit by another as Naruto pinched and twisted her tips, causing her to let out an orgasmic wail. It seems my naughty cow does in fact have some milk," Naruto says, feeling something wet on his hands and seeing a clear liquid. He brings them up to Pam's mouth as he says, "Lick my fingers clean, my naughty cow," before she does so, lapping up her milk from his fingers and eating on them as if she was eating on a popsicle. "Very good, though it seems you still have more milk in you. Assume the position, my cow," Naruto commands, pulling his PP out of Pam's flooded PP, resulting in a waterfall of Naruto's SMN to begin pouring out before Pam gets down on her hands and knees. "Ah, Naruto, hurry up, I need more." Pam yells only to let out a as Naruto slaps her peach. "No, that's not how my cow speaks," Naruto says with a growl. "Moo moo." Pam moos, guessing that's what Naruto wants her to say and finding it very hot. "That's a good cow, now I am going to milk those fat udders that you call your tips. While I do that, you are going to SCK on my PP and moo. If you do a good enough job, I might just breed you after I am done milking you. Would you like that, my salty cow?" Naruto says before kneeling down by Pam's head and reaching down to start milking her tips. "Moo." Pam says before taking Naruto's PP into her mouth and deep-throating it, all the while mooing, thus making her throat vibrate around his meat. "DMN, that's good, my cow," Naruto says as he increases his milking of her tips, and for the next several minutes a rhythm is established of Naruto working her tips while Pam throats his pages. All too soon, however, due to Pam's superb ORL skills and her vibrating throat, Naruto feels his release coming. "Get ready, cow, here leaks my milk," he says before he blasts his seed down her throat and into her stomach, resulting in her leaking and more milk to squir out of her tips onto the floor. Standing up and removing his PP from her mouth, Naruto looks down at the heavily panting form of Pam. "Very good job, especially for such a salty cow, and for that you deserve a small reward," Naruto says before moving behind her and lining his PP up with her PP again. "Get ready, because now I am going to breed my salty little Holstein," Naruto says, causing Pam to shudder and spasm before shaking as Naruto hilts his PP back into her PP. "Moo." Pam screams as Naruto begins savagely thrusting into her PP once again. Naruto then reaches around and grabs her tips once more before pulling her up so that she is balancing on her knees against his chest as he his meat up into her pages. Over and over he hilts himself into her for the next hour, sending her through orgasm after orgasm in an ever-increasing hypersensitive state. "Here it leaks, my cow, take it all and get PRGNNT." Naruto yells as he pulls out completely before shoving his entire PP back into her in one move with such force that a small bulge can be seen in her abdomen before he unleashes his load directly into her WMB. His hands aren't idle either as they pull and squeeze her tips, resulting in a shower of her milk as she throws her head back and looks up at the ceiling before letting out a final ear-piercing "moo," as the biggest orgasm of her life so far fries her senses as for the next several minutes Naruto empties his load into her. The moment Naruto's PP stopped flooding Pam's insides, he pulled it out of her, resulting in another waterfall of jizz to start flowing out of her thoroughly F pages. He also released his hold on her tips, causing her to flop down face first onto the floor, gasping for air as she tried to regain her breath as she slowly started coming down from her mind-shattering orgasm. "So how is my cow doing? You have my permission to speak," Narut says, not even sounding the least bit winded even after the vigorous F he just gave Pam. "That was the best F I have ever had," Pam managed to get out in between gasps of air. "Oh, we are far from done after all, that was only your punishment for using cane," now I need to detox you, which will require a lot of heavy sweating. I will give you 3 guesses on how I am going to make you sweat, Naruto says with a wide grin as Pam's eyes widen and her face pales as he descends on her to start her detox therapy. Time skip 3 days. Pam laid on her back on the ruined sheets of the large bed in the room trying to get her mind together after what she just went through. For the last 72 hours Naruto had thoroughly F her with only short breaks to use the bathroom, eat, and get some rest, if it could be called that. The two had gone through so many positions that Pam had lost count after the first 8 hours. They had F on every surface in the room barring the ceiling obviously. Naruto had used every paddle and riding CRP on her peach, tips, and even her PP. Whenever the two grew hungry Naruto would call Miko and Keiko to bring in food, usually sandwiches and for dessert ice cream with chocolate sauce and whipped cream. Even then Naruto would F Pam in some way, usually by making her deep throat his chocolate sauce and whipped cream covered PP. Not even when it came to sleeping was Pam given a break, as Naruto would put her in the SEC swing and have her suspended in the air with a BLLGG in her mouth and bullet vibrators on her tips, CLT, and one in her PP that were programmed to vibrate every 30 minutes, resulting in a less than ideal amount of sleep for her. Whenever it came to needing to use the bathroom Naruto would let her do so, but then after she was done he would take her into the shower and F her in there for several hours. So Pam, I take it you will never be using cane again or any other DRG I don't approve of? Naruto asked cheekily, lying next to the completely spent woman. You bet your peach I won't be. I love a good F, but this was insane, Pam manages to say despite her state. Oh, it won't be my butt on the line if you do, that's for sure. Now time for the final round. Naruto says with a chuckle and grin causing the woman's eyes to widen in shock. You can't be serious. Pam nearly yells, finding it unbelievable that after F her almost non-stop for 72 hours he was not only ready for more SEC but also still able to get an Erkton. Just kidding. Naruto says with a grin before he starts laughing as Pam manages to lightly slap his chest with a grin of her own at having been tricked. Naruto then wraps his arm around Pam before pulling her to him so that she was lying on her side, spooning him as her head rested on his chest and her legs intertwined with his. All too soon the exhausted woman fell asleep to the rhythm of Naruto's heartbeat. Naruto just smiled softly as he brushed his hand through Pam's hair before pulling the covers up over them and closed his own eyes to get some sleep as well. Or am I? He whispered into her ear. Docs. I truly appreciate this, my friend, Moto said as he and Naruto drank together watching drift cars race. Your people are no longer skimming and you are making a lot of money, and I killed some of your traitors, Naruto said to him. Moto laughed loudly at this. We have done good business, my friend, he said as they watched the crashes. Naruto was content as he checked the numbers with Cyril and saw they were ahead of the game in the money they were making. You truly earned Miko and Keiko, Moto said as giving them to Naruto was a good alliance deal. I keep the end of my deals, Naruto said with a smile, been a while since I had some private times with them. Next day. Miko and Keiko were very happy as their MSTR was happy with them and told them he was gonna reward them. They were currently in a very high-end expensive limo with very dark windows, no one able to see inside. Both girls took advantage and were on opposing sides of Naruto and did their jobs as his servants and pleasured him, kissing him on his neck whenever he was kissing the other sister. They as his hands were fingering their kitties very roughly as they screamed and into their kisses. You have both served me well and will be F thoroughly, Naruto said as they served him very well. He undid his pants and they immediately began eating him off, liking his PP and eating his balls. Miko and Keiko loved the taste of his PP as they had ate it so much they were addicted to his taste and the taste of his seed as he always filled them to completion, stretching them past their limits every time he touched them. Naruto ripped off their clothing smiling as they weren't wearing any bras or panties. Both sisters looked at each other as they soon began to kiss each other as they knew their lover loved to watch them F each other, knowing full well as all the girls in the HRM often F them before him like they were toys. We're ready MSTR as we always are, our bodies are ready to receive your majestic PP and be stuffed to the brim with your seed, They both said having much practice as like many others them being twins enticed their MSTR. The limo rocked violently in the alley it was parked in very aggressive F taking place on the inside. Naruto F both sisters Miko on top of Keiko inside the limo's hot tub both women making out jumping slightly in pleasure after each and every move. Miko MMM as she sat on her sister's face as Keiko was being F'd by Naruto very aggressively. Keiko MMM as she blew Naruto kneeling down outside the limo looking like a HKR as she blew him. Miko and Keiko posed as they were drenched in juices and there in each other's juices as Naruto took their pictures as they often took pictures of themselves whenever they F with him or serviced Naruto's girls. Both girls felt no shame walking through the parking lot of Naruto's building naked to the elevator and felt no shame when their fellow HRM members who entered teased, smacked, and punished their NDE bodies however they liked. Few weeks later. "Why is your name Snowball and I thought you stopped eating coke," Sterling said as he had just awoken from his long nap after being drugged by Pam. "Oh, it's not coke. Naruto made them," Pam said as her mouth was covered in white liquid. "What is that?" Archer asked very hungry and Naruto's cooking rocked. "Pause off," Pam said stuffing her face savoring the cream-filled center. With Naruto. "Can someone explain to me why my PRGNM wife is driving?" Naruto asked a little heatedly. "Because Pansy but here can't handle a little lack of sleep," Mallory said to him. "You can all drive, what the hell is the problem?" Naruto said to them. "Come here babe, let me help you, unwind," Cheryl or Chirleen said as she had become a trailer SLT with her country singer act and was often Janelle taught her both how to be country and how to be a trailer SLT. Few minutes later. "I swear bro, what the F did you do?" Naruto said as this seemed like something on his brother's bucket list as a motorcycle gang pulled up alongside the RV. "I have been drugged, how could I have done this?" Sterling said to him. "Pam," everyone asked over the CB. "I may have mentioned we're carrying a SHT ton of coke over a game of craps," Pam said over the phone. "You idiots brought Kane," Mallory said angrily. "Okay, what is our weapon situation?" Naruto asked as he grabbed a shotgun and had a pistol. Everyone gave him a blank nervous stare. "Are you kidding?" Naruto said in annoyance as he had to admit he came light since this was a concert. "Sterling," he asked over the CB. "Where the F is my gun?" Pam, Sterling said over the line. "You are F with me," Naruto said as he saw the hatch to the roof of the RV and climbed. "Careful daddy," Lana said teasingly as she drove. Naruto just chuckled as he climbed up top seeing a dozen bikers and the leader. "Hey pussies," he said taking out his pistol firing shooting the front tire of the bikers, the leader dodging the bullet. "An impressive feat, Lana, slow down," he said to her as he kept his eyes on the leader. He ran and slid as the man tried to shoot him and he grabbed the railing on the top left side of the bus grabbing the shotgun from the man and kicked him making him fall to the side. 5 minutes later. "Let's go," Naruto said as he and Sterling replaces the shot-out tire. "I need some ammo if this gang is bigger than I think it is," he thought to himself. 1 hour later. "Hey, I'm gonna get some ammo, load up Cheryl or Keeleen or whatever," Naruto said as he went to the gun store to pick up some high-quality ammo since Texas was known to have guns. Few minutes later. "Here are the explosive shotgun rounds." Trailer park. "Oh my god," Chirleen said as she sounding like she was climaxing as she was tied up, freaking out the bikers a bit. She gained a predatory look as she glared at them with a vindictive smile. "You're gonna die, you are all gonna die," she said sounding excited. Outside the trailer park. "Seriously 40 guys," Naruto said as he looked through a sniper scope. "So how you wanna do this?" Ray asked him curiously. "Well, Naruto was saying till he saw Ray in some biker BDSM gear wearing assless chaps. "Well, infiltration is out," he said to him immediately. "Okay, we're loaded here, take extra bullets," he said as Ray was a good shot but Naruto knew he was the best and needed the mount he had. "Try and sabotage their engines with these," he said giving him some thermite charges. "Place them in the ignition, they are very close to the gas tanks," he said to him. "Wow, seriously man, this is heavy duty for bikers," Ray said to him. Yeah, the explosives are for Churline's benefits, you know how she is, Naruto said as she still liked things to burn. That makes sense, Ray said to him. I'll take it to the rooftops after you sabotage the bikes and make sure you space them apart. Those thermite charges are powerful, Naruto said as they separate. Few minutes later. Blow them when I start firing, Naruto said before thinking of his brother. Phrasing I know, he said before Ray could say it. He climbed to the roof and mentally counted. Hey CNTS, he said, calling out, getting attention. FU, he said, shooting 2 in their heads, and fell back the moment he fired. As soon as their heads exploded as everyone fired at him and he dodged the incoming buckshots and bullets, and soon he heard the loud booming from the motorcycles. A few minutes later. Hey babe, Churline said with a grin as she was dragging the lead biker by his beard as he was on the ground covered in scrapes, burns, and bruises. Can I ask a favor, she said in a SNSL manner. Oh dear lord, did you PSS yourself, Ray said seeing her soaked short shorts. I didn't PSS myself, but I am wet, Churline said with a grin as she looked at Naruto. The moment I heard those explosions and trailers burning I knew it had to be my man, she said with a grin. I swear man, I wish I had that power with men, Ray said as Naruto was a literal panty dropper whenever he crossed a woman's path. So babe, ready to get out of here, Naruto asked her curiously. No, I wanna kill this BSTRD, Churline said pulling out a thermite charge. The F did you get that, Naruto asked as he thought he was missing a charge on the way here. Cheryl didn't respond as she got behind the biker and grabbed a LTX glove that was nearby with some DRGS and shoved the charge up the biker's butt, making him scream in pain as she pushed it in a rough way. Everyone ran knowing what to expect next as they soon saw the man scream in agony as he burned from the inside out. Cheryl, where were you keeping that thermite grenade? Naruto asked again, looking at the now dead biker who had sparks and flames shooting out of his butt as his abdomen melted away. Oh, you know, the usual place, though it was tough keeping it in at times considering how slippery that area became watching you kill all those bikers, Cheryl said lustfully. Easy girl, I can wreck your holes after your album hits platinum, Naruto said with a grin. That's all well and good, but I am corny now, and we have a perfectly good tour bus that needs to be broken in, Cheryl teases with a slight pout, drawing circles on Naruto's chest with one of her index fingers. That's true. Okay, we can have a quickie in the bus, but the main event will be saved for after your album drops, Naruto says, comprising. Deal. Cheryl yells before she begins dragging Naruto towards the tour bus. 1 hour later. Naruto was relaxing naked in the jacuzzi as Churline was blowing him, pressing on her head roughly, making her take him for a long time underwater. Churline was having a lot of difficulty as she worked very hard for him to leak, and soon she earned her breath of fresh air when Naruto leaked down her throat. She welcomed the air when she rose above the water. I heard you like gingers. Want me to give you some spice, she said sultrily as she sat in his lap feeling his urchin on her peach as she pressed it down. Naruto smiled as he said nothing as he grabbed her by the throat, making her blush and as she gasped. Choke me. F strangle me like I owe you money. Hell, after this take my wallet. Churline said to him as she gasped. Oh, don't worry Cheryl, I own you already, you know that, Naruto said to her as he had been making a lot of money over the months and was worth about the same as Cheryl as he had $500 million in cash. Yes, take everything what's mine is yours, I'll blow you for a penny. Everything else I'll do free. That way you can claim I'm your personal HKR, Churline said as she loved the thought of being Naruto's cheap and easy SLT. The bus visibly shook outside the team seeing it and was either jealous/disgusted/inspired/ or some combination thereof. Few days later. How F is the operation, Naruto asked Slater over the phone. Very, your brother killed our middleman and has our weapon. Some of my men are Holly's men, okay, so I had to let them go. Listen, I need you to un-F this, okay, Slater said to him. Gotcha, Naruto said to him as his brother somehow got himself into another crazy situation. Hey, what's this I hear about you shooting Holly, Slater said, sounding very interested. He was checking the house acting like a jackass and he heard a scream, but it was a scream of someone I was with, and the moment he walked in kicking the door I shot him while still screwing my girl, Naruto said to him. Wow, Slater said as that sounded amazing and humiliating for Holly. Okay, good luck, and listen, Holly just directs the rebels, but in truth, they don't like him, they like me cause I supply them with the good SHT, so they answer to me mainly. I gave them your picture, so just give them some orders here and there, he said to him. Okay, can you send me a profile of the guy who I'll be dealing with and also any notes you may have? Naruto asked him, receiving an email. Next day. Krieger, if you blow this up in here I will kill you myself, Naruto said to him as he spent some of the profits on a submarine. I'll hold on to this, he said as he'd rent it out to his contacts. You want? Krieger said in excitement. Yeah, Naruto said calmly as he took the detonator. Few days later. Arms deal, Mallory said to him in surprise. No robbery, and here is what I am offering you, Naruto said, giving her a drink which she drank as he gave her a piece of paper, making her spit her drink onto Ron, who was reading his paper. What the hell? Ron said, seeing his wife in shock, and went over to her as he grabbed the paper. $1 billion, he said in shock. Yep, and she just has to be herself, keeping the president or whatever the F he is distracted, Naruto said as he expected to make 20 billion easy between the art and the vehicles he had stored, and Slater was proving a plane and handling the shipments himself, storing everything in a whole building full of storage units for him. I love you, Mallory said as she was actually crying as she hugged him. Next day. This was way easier than I thought, Naruto said as when he introduced Chirlane the president became a total moron. 1 hour later. This guy is an easy mark, Naruto thought to himself as he had the others working on certain areas where the cameras didn't reach, and also killed the Krieger clones and had to talk Krieger down, explaining to him he was a clone or whatever. He was doubting he was Hitler's clone since he didn't look like the man, and the fact that his mother retrieved him as a child making him the most likely choice of being an original. In his mind, this would take a month or month and a half to fully steal this man's stuff. Few hours later. Man, Slater wasn't kidding, Naruto thought as he was tracking his first shipments to the plane. This nerve gas canister is something we can't mess with though, he thought, as it was too dangerous to leave in careless hands. He talked to Slater about it and both agreed it was best to wait before they move it. Next day. Naruto came from the gym. Calderon had, and once he came into his room he saw a woman's pantyless peach raised up in the air, her upper body under his bed. Oh hello sir, I'm just cleaning the room, the woman said as she shook her peach. Thanks, Naruto said to her as he walked into the bathroom. The F, the woman said as she heard the shower running. Was I just overlooked? She said, sounding angry. She was a gorgeous redhead in a French-made uniform. She had G-cup-sized melons, a curvy model hourglass figure, and a nice large bubbly peach. No one overlooks Juliana Calderon, she said, marching into the bathroom, and brushed the curtain aside and soon saw Naruto in all his glory. If you want to join you're welcome to, Naruto said, not even batting an eye. Juliana was impressed by his confidence and had no problem stripping and entering the shower. How about you do your job, maid, and wash my pee-pee with those tips of yours, Naruto said to her. Yes sir, Juliana said, staying in character as she grabbed some soap and lathered his impressive member in soap and gave him a tip job, giving him an RTC scrubbing. I may have to keep him, she thought, as there were rarely any men she thought about keeping, but a member like this was unheard of and she didn't want to give it up. It even tastes good, she thought as she kissed and liked the tip sensually. Come on, you can do better, Naruto said, sounding bored. Juliana became annoyed as he wasn't in pleasure like all the men she had slept with who scream and call out her name. Naruto smiled seeing Calderon's wife become frustrated, knowing she was a prideful woman. He took further control, grabbing the back of her head and thrust it into her mouth, making her take him to his base. Juliana was surprised as she was usually always in control during SEC. She was surprised by how much control Naruto had over her. Let's see if he can keep control, she thought to herself. Naruto wasted no time, F the hell out of her throat, hearing her loudly, making him even more turned on. Juliana felt his member twitch and kept her mouth open as he pulled out of her mouth and shot off a fire hose of seed onto her face and tips. Lick yourself clean and meet me on the bed, Naruto said as he turned off the shower and dried himself and left the bathroom. Juliana was a bit excited as she was covered in his seed. He even tastes good, she thought, tasting the seed and how heavy and thick it was. Once she was finished and dried herself a little, she saw Naruto on the bed looking rather relaxed and bored, but his PP stood proud, ready, and on alert. "Well," Naruto said to her as he gestured to his waiting curtain that pointed straight up like a tower. "Right away, sir," Juliana said, still keeping her maid persona up. She crawled on top of the bed and ried his PP between her PP lips. He feels even bigger, she thought before she positioned herself above his member and aligned it with her entrance and began to do squats on it. "I will not be weak," she thought as she squatted on his member, unable to believe how much he stretched her out. "Not bad for your first time with me," Naruto said with a grin as he watched, seemingly unaffected. "Cocky bstrd," Juliana said as she both hated and was aroused by his confidence as she began to bounce up on and down on his long and thick member, which stretched her walls wider than any PP or toy to enter her before. "I wouldn't talk SHT to me, Juliana, especially when I am gonna own your peach," Naruto said to her confidently as he grabbed her hips, pulling her down harshly. As he thrust it up into her roughly, Juliana was brought out of her lustful stupor but still as he kept her. "You know who I am?" she asked, surprised he was still her. "And what do you mean you own my peach?" she said with a glare. "Easy beat," Naruto said to her, slamming into her extra roughly. "Your country is gonna be destroyed. The US isn't backing you, they are helping the rebels, they are just using you for profit. Even now I just stole $1 billion from this place," he said confidently. "So I'll make you an offer, you can be my maid and serve me like a good bee who I will whenever I want, and you get to live comfortably and won't have to worry about anything, or you can stay here, we leave and help the rebels take all of this. And you die with that pathetic excuse of a husband you have, who by the way just purposed to my bee," he said, grabbing his phone, pulling up the security camera footage and handed it to Juliana, taking a pause in his thrusts to her. Juliana watched the video as Naruto's PP was still in her. "Let me think about it, give me a few weeks, maybe a month," Charlene said to Calderon. "Yes, and I will get rid of my wife." "Guard, go kill the former first lady," Calderon said to his soldier. "No, I want her around, I like to cuck people I dislike," Charlene said to him. Juliana now felt nervous as her now ex-husband was willing to put her down. "Very well, if you can satisfy me I will submit to you and be your maid, D-sleeve, MSTRS, juice SLT, or whatever you want me to be. And you must also kill my pathetic husband naturally," she said to him. "Good girl, and don't worry, that won't be a problem, as you can no doubt feel," Naruto said, giving her another powerful move. Hearing her loud "and your husband will die, I'll kill him, hate people like him," he said to her. Juliana had to admit Naruto in these few minutes proved to be more than any man she had been with. He was strong, powerful, smart, assertive, and most of all he was an amazing lover with an equally amazing PP. Naruto decided he had enough and decided it was time to break his latest addition. He pulled her into a kiss as he stood up and pushed her against the bed face down, getting behind her. "Oh Naruto baby," Charlene said, walking in. "USLT," Juliana said in heated anger, as because of her and her husband's addiction to her she lost everything. "DMN right SLT," Charlene said, walking to Naruto and gave him a kiss. "You know our man loves redheads, you were his before he laid eyes on you," she said with a grin as she began to strp. Juliana would have said more if Naruto didn't move into her PP, his hips slamming against her peach. "Love seeing you make our asses clap, babe, tell me what your newest SLT is," Charlene asked as Naruto made sure all his girls knew their positions in the HRM. "My maid," Naruto said to her. "Oh wonderful," Charlene said with a smile. "Yuta will love the extra help and having a fellow redhead," she said with a grin. "You should know as his maid, the moment you enter a fellow HRM member's apartment you get naked as you clean and we play with you and you do as you are told," she said as she made Yuta do many things for her. Juliana became a little wet from that as the women she saw with Naruto were impressive. She screamed as she felt Charlene put 4 fingers in her never-before-been-penetrated peach. "Oh Naruto and us girls will have a lot of fun with you, some royal upclass B," Chael said as Naruto liked breaking the superiority complexes in his women. She remembered when he broke her of her own superiority and passed her around to his other girls like she was a bottle of beer, remembering how they all played with her using her like a toy. I hope you're ready where for the best first day of the rest of you life your holes are his now, she said feeling Juliana's peach clench around her fingers. Motivating Chirleen to finger it faster and rougher. Let go, Naruto said to Chirleen as she did as told and took her fingers out of Juliana's peach and pulled out of her PP and thrust it into Juliana's peach without warning or mercy. I wanna hear it Juliana say you're mine, he said wanting to hear her claim her loyalty to him. Juliana blushed and now had a shy expression as he pounded her peach mercilessly. Alright you win I am your servant Naruto, I live to serve your PP my body is only for you as I am yours I will do anything you tell me to do as I am your maid, she said her PP clenching a little as her maid of TSH was now her permanent position in life. 6 hours later. Oh my F God babe look at your SLT, Chirleen said bouncing on his PP with a lewd smile as Juliana black out 3 hours ago her peach and PP gaping and twitching as the juices Naruto deposited deep in them still flowing out much like how it leaked out the corner of her mouth and her nostrils from the final juice shot he gave her which was the one that caused her to black out. I hope you know Chirleen your PP is gonna be destroyed during this trip, Naruto said as her record went platinum thanks to her #1 fan stalker. Yes MSTR, Chirleen said as Naruto told her how rough and often he was gonna F her and it made her so wet. Now my precious little music SLT what is your name, Naruto said gripping her neck with one hand and cupped her chin with the other. Cheryl, Chirleen said with a raspy voice. Naruto smiled as he let her go and lifted Cheryl up and got her into a full Nelson but instead of his hands on the back of her head he wrapped his hands around her throat and F her PP. Cheryl choked out as her PP sprayed and gushed with each move as no one knew her body as well as Naruto did not even her, he knew everything it craved and desired no matter what he knew what she wanted even before she did. Next day. Naruto smirked as he made out with Juliana, remember what I told you Juliana, he said whispering into her ear as he kissed her neck roughly. Yes baby, Juliana said to him sensually as she told him that despite being his bee she would be treated like a queen and that she was his and his alone. Both her and Cheryl watched as he left. He may have business to take care of but we can still have some fun, Cheryl said cupping her tips. I have a double SEC room I use for when I want to sleep with the actual maids, Juliana said as she did enjoy breaking in the other maids as she made and asserted herself amongst them. Let's go, Cheryl said to her as she fully intended to claim her as Naruto did. With Naruto. Remember the night we made her, Naruto said to Lana as they rested in bed spooning with Naruto being the big spoon his arms wrapped around Lana as he gently ran his hands over her swollen belly. You know the night our child was conceived, Lana said as that was a 1 in a million shot guess with the amount he F her. Yeah it was the night I got to marry you again, Naruto said to her. Flashback. Welcome to the honeymoon sweet Mrs. Archer, Naruto said as he was really liking this mission as he got to marry his wife all over again. Thank you Mr. Archer, Lana said with a grin. This will be a nice honeymoon especially since I already stopped the deal that was going down, Naruto said as he called in Slater to handle the Koreans as he stopped the deal already as he found out it was Krieger as he was messing with a pig and even screwing at his PP becoming radioactive in the process. Then I guess these 3 days are all about you and me, Lana said as she felt her panties moisten, and we have plenty of booze, a hot tub, and many other things that I am sure we can find some use for, she said as she kissed him. 1 hour later. Hi Lana, Anka said as she came to the suite the moment she was called, seeing Lana in pure white panties and BR. Hey my little countess, Lana said as Anka has finally earned her title as Countess von Fingerbang. Do you know why I called you here, she asked her with a small smile. My only guess is you want me there as UFR man, Anka said with a teasing smile. Oh yeah, but you and I are gonna have some fun first, Lana said as she easily ripped Anka out of her clothing. Do you know why tonight is so special, she asked her simply getting a curious look in response. I am gonna get knocked up on my honeymoon, she said placing a hand on her WMB. Anka looked at her in amazement as now she was positive the F they were gonna be doing would be more intense than usual, she feeling Lana's fingers enter her PP. You know Anka, I always liked you. I often thought of you as a little sister, Lana said, as with Anka being the youngest in the HRM it was easy to see her that way, but I think we can be more than sisters. I want you to call me mommy, she said, wanting to abuse that title before she became a literal MLF. Anka felt her PP most 10 at that. Okay mommy, she said as Lana spanked her peach with her other hand. Naruto is my daddy and she is my mommy, she thought lustfully. Good girl, Lana said as she played with Anka. SCK on mommy's tips, she said, still playing with Anka's peach and PP. Anka did as told and ate on Lana's massive tips. Lana smiled as due to Anka's small size she wondered if this is what nursing would feel like in the future, but much less SXL than what she was feeling with now. That's my girl. Naruto is your daddy and I am your mommy, she said, fully intending on making her daughter do many things to her and vice versa. Now be a good girl and lick my PP, she said, removing her BR and panties. Anka wasted no time as she had eaten out Lana before, but now there was a more SXL component now that she called her mommy. Good girl SCK and kiss mommy's PP, Lana said to her with a grin. Get my PP ready so your daddy can ruin me like he has for you, she said to her. You taste so good mommy, I bet you and daddy taste good together, Anka said as she drank Lana's PP juices. Lana wrapped her legs around Anka's head, burying Anka's face deep into her PP as she grinded it against her face. You're absolutely right baby, me and daddy do taste good together and you'll taste us after I have you good and ready because you are gonna be our wedding gift, she said, fully intending for Naruto and her to really break Anka in a whole new way. Anka as she drank Lana's juices, her PP gushing out juices. Lana loudly as she let out a massive orgasm, dosing Anka's face. Lie down, she said commandingly. Anka did as she was told as Lana was sounding a lot more like Naruto in bed, making the blonde feel a sudden rush of hormones. Nice and ready, Lana said as she looked at Anka's PP which glistened. She got on top of Anka, claiming her lips as their tips mashed against the others. Now lay there my little girl, she said as she spread her legs apart and grinded her PP against Anka's. You still have work to do Anka, she said, motioning to her tips looking as hard as diamonds. Anka did as instructed and went back to eating Lana's giant tips. I want tips like yours, she said, feeling her melons were small in comparison to Lana's. You're still growing, don't worry, mama will rub them for you every day, Lana said as she cupped her face. I'll play with your tips every day if you want, and who knows, maybe you'll be as big as me someday, she said as she claimed Anka's lips once again. 1 hour later. How are my girls doing? Naruto said, seeing Lana strapping Anka to the bed, Anka's body in a X position, her head at the foot of the bed and her legs at the top. Amazing sweetie, Lana said, sensually seeing her husband. Our girl has done a fine job, she said as she groped Anka's BRST. Good to know my little girl is a grade A SLT, Naruto said, seeing Anka's face flush. Oh, before I forget, our little girl wants to taste us, Lana said, giving Anka a teasing look. Well, wish granted, move Lana, Naruto said, getting Lana into the doggy style position, her PP over Anka's face. Anka looked up in excitement, seeing Lana's PP drip onto her face as she saw how eager her mother's lips were for Naruto's. Lana screamed in pleasure as Naruto penetrated her. Yes, oh god sweetie, you F me just right, she said in euphoria. Oh, tonight is gonna be special Lana, Naruto said as he F her, making her scream to the top of her lungs. Anka could only watch as she saw Naruto's PP stretch Lana's PP, opening her mouth as Lana's juices and Naruto's pre-juice dripped on her face and fell into her mouth. Few minutes later. Anka as she kissed Lana on the bed, both exploring each other's mouths. Here Anka, Naruto said, giving her a bottle of wine. Yes daddy, Anka said, opening it, and kissed Lana's neck before slowly pouring the wine on Lana's body, covering her from the neck down, the wine pooling in her thighs. Now drink it up, Naruto said to Anka. Anka wasted no time drinking the wine contained by Lana's thighs. Naruto liked Lana's body, teasing her as he drank the wine off her body. Lana could only as they liked her, getting every last drop of the wine off her skin. 10 minutes later. Lana was excited as they were gonna do a favorite KNK of her that she really liked. She stood up tall as Anka was lathering her body in chocolate body butter. I got the chocolate sauce and WHP cream Lana, Naruto said as Lana had developed this after they were on Scorpio's boat after his brother's Pirate King phase and the many times she had SEC with Pam. Well, the WHP cream will have to do for now, though I would prefer only one type of cream, Lana said looking at his heavy ball, wanting what was inside them to be inside her. Anka was excited as the body butter was basically lube and Lana wanted it everywhere from the neck down, and Lana did the same for her. Lana said as she covered herself in chocolate sauce and sprayed WHP cream on her tips. My favorite treat, she said looking at Naruto's chocolate-covered PP. She got on her knees and began to blow him. He hasn't leaked once, he's making me work for this baby, she thought in both anger and lust. She felt drawn to his ball as they hit her chin. Come on Lana, you want that baby right? Well, make me leak so I can stuff your PP, my heavy load, Naruto said to her tauntingly. Lana ate his PP as much as she could. Cleaning it of the chocolate, F me, she said, demanding her PP dripping like a faucet. Stuff my PP, destroy and break me, F breed me like the SLT I am for you, she said beggingly. Naruto smiled as he saw her and how lustful she was. Ride my PP Lana, he said to her commandingly. Anka, come here, I want to lick your PP, he said as he laid back. Both girls did as they were told and assumed the positions, Anka sitting on Naruto's face and Lana riding him cowgirl style. Next morning, Lana felt at peace as she slept on her side and slowly stirred from her slumber seeing Anka eating her out. Naughty girl, I need that, she said lustfully. Their bodies, the blankets, and even the wall covered in chocolate stains of hand prints, footprints, peach prints, and even a print of both of their tips side by side on the wall above the headboard of the bed. But mommy, it tastes so good, especially with Papa's juices mixed with your juices, Anka whines playfully with a pout. Lana chuckles hearing this. Very well, continue eating your breakfast while we wait for Papa to wake up so we can have him provide a refill, she says before letting out a mmm as Anka resumes her breakfast. That sounds like a wonderful idea, and when she is done I am going to thoroughly refill you. However, we are going to need more chocolate, Naruto whispers huskily into her ear as he begins FNDLNG and GRPNG her melons from behind as he begins grinding his hardened member in between her peach cheeks, causing her to mmm from the dual assault. Flashback end. You two couldn't stop milking me. I think I got friction burns, Naruto said jokingly. I wanted this baby and Anka kept eating me out, Lana said as it was catch-22 situation. She lost the juice she tried to make herself PRGNT with, but that gave her more opportunity to get more. Naruto just chuckled as he rested his hand on Lana's stomach and felt their baby kick. Lemon end. Few weeks later. Thanks for the billion, Slater said as he and Naruto flew the plane with Slater having a black eye, and again sorry, he said to him. Dude, we were trying to deliver my daughter. I have to ask, are you into Prego Pawn? Naruto said as he thought Slater was a bit too invested in seeing Lana as she was gonna deliver. No, of course not, Slater said as he laughed nervously. So how are we gonna deal with Holly? Naruto asked him curiously. Well, he's a PP and an idiot, but with your recommendation and the bomb I will be turning in I will be even more promoted, Slater said as he was already holding rank against Holly, but Holly had no knowledge of it. At best he was a scapegoat. DMN, and here I was hoping we could just kneecap him and shove him out of the plane, giving the sharks a nice breakfast, Naruto says. I'll take that under consideration, Slater said to him sounding very serious. Hey, I got this, go see your kid. Also I'll handle the paperwork for the kid, he said to him. Thanks, Naruto said leaving his seat and closed the door behind him. Hey Ray, mind taking over? Also the guy in the other seat super single, he said thinking this to be enough punishment for earlier. Great, I'm a grandmother again, Mallory said to herself, taking a drink to either celebrate or deal with stress was up for debate. Her middle name is Mallory, Naruto said with a grin seeing her momentarily brighten. So I'm an uncle, Sterling said sounding happy about that. You drink, smoke, or drive like you usually do with my baby. I'll kill you myself and make all those torture simulations look like daydreams, Naruto said with a small smile. Everyone laughed at Sterling as he saw the seriousness in Naruto's eyes. SHT, Sterling said thinking it was about time he wised up. Hey, Naruto said walking into the back as Lana was given it as she deserved privacy after delivering. Hey, come see her, Lana said, unable to take her eyes off Abby Jean Mallory Archer. She had Lana's skin tone, Naruto's eyes, and her hair was honey brown with streaks of blonde in it. She's perfect, Naruto said to his wife, giving her and their baby a kiss. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 5. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author pyrohelixdrago on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.